Hey, you guys. No, I didn't forget about you. It's the last week of classes before spring break, so you know how that goes. Teachers are at your throat with assignments, waiting to see if you'll break down and beg for mercy. But not me. I'm also in a somber mood because, well, free agency for the Ravens fans always suck, quite frankly. But in a way, it's also flattering in a way. People want to say Ozzie Newsome can't draft like he used to. Well, tell me why our homegrown players always leave after 4 years and end up being some of the highest paid at their position. Yeah. Now, a lot of them don't pan out after they get those big money deals, so that gives me comfort when I go to sleep at night. It's like seeing your ex got fat after you broke up. It's lovely. But moving on, the biggest news that comes out of free agency so far is Brandon Marshall to the New York Giants. Excellent move. I'm not even going to state the obvious on this one by pointing out that there isn't a more talented 1-2 punch at receiver than the... Crap, I just did it. Anyways, let's get into the overanalyzation aspect of this signing. Since the season ended, New York has gotten rid of 2 of the 3 weak links from last season. Those 3 weak links being Rashad Jennings, Victor Cruz, and Eli Manning. They got more talented on offense. In my opinion, more explosive when you think about the rack ability of Brandon Marshall, which in turn should help out Eli. You improved at the running back position, especially if Vereen comes back ready to go and you draft a young guy. You improve at the receiver position by adding a guy whose legs aren't shot. You can potentially add an O.J. Howard to an offense that is littered with guys who can pick up yards after the catch. If I'm New York, I now focus on adding some young depth to the defense from day 2 on in the draft, just in case those veterans start to slip a bit. Trimming off the excess fat of Victor Cruz and Rashad Jennings, then bringing in an already seasoned cutlet like Marshall to help mentor the young studs at receiver. Arrows are pointing up in New York. I'm Milton Woolley. You're now listening to The Pylon. The Tony Romo era in Dallas is over. No more smoke screens and playing with the emotions of the media by Jerry Jones. It's time to say goodbye to the old guard and build on the tremendous young nucleus that you have set in place. I've said my piece on Tony Romo and where I think he should go, and it hasn't budged. The Redskins seem to be emerging as a player if Kirk Cousins really goes to San Francisco. The Redskins, by the way, they have an interesting history of pissing off quarterbacks. But while it would make for great TV to see Romo face Dallas twice a year, Redskins ain't contending anytime soon, let's be real. At this point in his career, Romo would be best served to go to a team that is a quarterback away from competing for a Super Bowl. Notice how I haven't mentioned that team in this podcast? Because I want you to go back and watch the video on where Tony Romo should go if you're new to this channel. That's smart producing right there. Give me props. You're now listening to The Pylon. The most televised workout session in the world. The NFL scouting combine, this is where the small skinny guys make themselves millions of dollars by running fast, and where the macho guys flex around competing to see who can bench 225 pounds more than the other. Before I go into the 2 stars, before closing out the show, I'm going to give a shout out to the defensive backs of this year's group. They absolutely put on a show. Me as a Ravens fan, I want that sexy playmaker we've been starving for on offense since Ray Rice left and got suspended for beating his wife, but I would not be mad if they got one of these DBs, namely Jamal Adams or Sidney Jones. But I don't watch too much of college, so I'm not going to act like I know everything about them and BS you guys, because I'm all about that non-BS life. But from what I've seen and read, those guys are looking to be absolute studs. On to John Ross, soon to be the fastest man in the NFL. Now, personally for him, breaking the 40-yard dash record is a big freaking deal. That's something he'll carry with himself for the rest of his life, and is definitely a big achievement that he's going to tell his grandkids about. Now, I know I'm going to sound like I'm taking away from him, but if I'm a GM, that doesn't change my thinking on what he is. We knew he was fast as hell going into the combine. Obviously not that fast, but that doesn't change the overall perception of him much. If I'm a GM who is targeting a speedy receiver anyways, then great. Yeah, John Ross is your guy. Go get him. But a guy like Charlie Casserly mocks him to the Ravens and uses the caption, Joe Flacco gets much needed speed at the receiver position. Huh? Mike Wallace has been fast his whole career. Brashad Perriman ran a 4.24 at his pro day. We drafted another deep threat last year in the same draft as Brashad Perriman, I'm pretty sure. We don't need fast. John Ross, unless he follows the trends of an undersized guys making an impact like Odell Beckham or Antonio Brown, he does not have what I want if the Ravens are actually targeting a receiver. I can guarantee you that. For the Ravens, any other offense that needs a speed guy, yeah, have at him, not the Ravens. Myles Garrett proved that he was the dad of the combine. We all know he killed his workout too, so not going to go too much into that. But I'm going to go back into the overanalyzation. Browns would be stupid to pass on him. And it's not just because he's the best player in the draft. It's because why bring in a young quarterback and not have any foundation in place? Tom Brady had foundation. Aaron Rodgers had foundation. Ben Roethlisberger certainly had foundation. And that's not to diminish those guys' greatness, but it's to throw a wrench at the quarterback obsessive folks out there. If I'm Cleveland, I'm focusing on building the foundation of my team before trying to run and go get the quarterback. Don't let the league tell you you need an elite quarterback. Dak Prescott. Best foundation a young quarterback has had since Ben Roethlisberger. That's why Dallas can compete now. That's why the Steelers have always been able to compete. That's why the Ravens could compete until recently when that foundation has started to erode away. Colin Kaepernick. Build the foundation first, Cleveland. Then quarterback comes afterwards. What do humans need to survive? Food, water, shelter. What do young quarterbacks need to survive? Offensive line, defense, running back. Browns need to bring in the food, water, and shelter before they think about having the actual baby. Some quick hits going off script here. the Philadelphia Eagles have addressed their wide receiver woes by signing Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith. I think it's very, very interesting that they committed 3 years to a... Listen, me as a Ravens fan, I know this. A bad wide receiver in Torrey Smith, a one-trick pony, while giving Alshon Jeffrey a 1-year prove-it deal. I just think it's interesting. That's it for the show today. I'm probably going to be in a bad mood the longer free agency goes on, so if I seem more agitated than usual in my videos, that's why. Yeah, we re-signed Brandon Williams to the Ravens, but the defense wasn't the problem last year. It was the offense, and we lost out on the best fullback in the league in Kyle Juszczyk and Ricky Wagner on an already struggling offensive line. It's going to take me a while to get after that, so I'm probably going to be this way up until draft day, depending on if Ozzie Newsome brings in some good players. You know, just depending on what the Ravens do. I'm Milton Woolley. You're now listening to The Pylon.